China is refusing to recognise The Hague's historic court ruling yesterday over territory in the South China Sea in favour of the Philippines. Beijing says it might now then boost its military presence in the region. Emily Sue's here to tell us more about this. This ruling yesterday was expected, and so was China's reaction to it. It said it wasn't going to listen to what The Hague had to say, and sure enough, that was followed through, wasn't it?
Well, yes, absolutely, Kevin. Let me take you back to the beginning. From the very beginning, when the case was first submitted to the Permanent Arbitration Court at The Hague over 3 years ago, China already dismissed it as a political farce, saying they won't recognize it, they won't accept it, and they won't enforce it. After the ruling was handed down yesterday, well, China reiterated that, but stressed that they're willing to resume dialogue with the Philippines in order to resolve this conflict. But speaking at a press conference yesterday, actually today, the Vice Foreign Minister, his tone wasn't so diplomatic. Let's take a listen.
None of the 5 members from the arbitration panel comes from Asia. Do they understand Asia? About the issue of the South China Sea? The 5 judges are paid. The Philippines paid them. Maybe some other countries also paid them. We don't know. They work for profit.
The Vice Foreign Minister, he didn't name any names, but the fact that the U.S. and the Philippines, they are treaty allies, and that the U.S. has several military bases in the Philippines, well, many analysts are suspecting that this case really is orchestrated by the U.S. in the name of their so-called diplomatic and military pivot or rebalance towards Asia. Here's how the Chinese Foreign Ministry had put it.
Before the United States adopted the rebalancing strategy, there had been some disputes in the region and some contradictions between the related countries. But on the whole, the countries in the region had been able to maintain the overall peace, stability and security. The situation began to change only after the United States adopted the rebalancing strategy in the Asia-Pacific region.
This isn't about the United States projecting moral authority. This is an international tribunal which came up with a legally binding decision that the United States didn't influence. We said before that they reached it, that it would be legally binding. So did the world. Now they've reached it. It's still legally binding.
So the US is happy with this result. The Philippines obviously happy with this result. China's going, hey, what result? Where's it going to go now?
Well, many are expecting both sides to step up their military game in the region, but nothing substantial has happened just yet. So far, it's only talk and flexing military muscles, if you will. But today, China reiterated that it has the right to set up an air defense zone above the South China Sea if it thinks is necessary. But they didn't go as far as saying that they will for sure. It would depend on the level of threat they face. Now, it's for the viewers to judge whether or not that's an overreaction. But one thing I do want to point out is that all the countries with claims in the South China Sea, they either already have or are developing military ties with the U.S. And let's not forget, Japan and South Korea are also U.S. allies. And recently, there have been numerous mass protests because people there are not happy with U.S. military deployments in those 2 countries. So if we take a step back and looking at the overall picture, with China effectively surrounded by pro-U.S. forces, well, the question that begs to be asked is, who really is the real threat here?
Yeah, the whole story about that question of the 9-dash line there and who owns what and who's got stake in it's going to be a real hot spot to watch, isn't it? Emily Sue, thank you for now. We spoke earlier to Victor Gao. He's director of the China National Association of International Studies. He said, as we've been hearing there, that China's open to dialogue with its neighbour in order to try to resolve the dispute here, but doesn't want any external interference.
It is very obvious from the very beginning that the United States was very much involved in this arbitration case brought by the Philippines against China. The United States now deploys 2 aircraft carrier battle groups in the South China Sea with many warships and military airplanes try to put pressure on China. On the other hand, China is very happy to engage with the Philippines. We want to make sure that the Chinese people and the Filipino people are friends and good neighbors, and we have the wisdom and the diplomatic skills to resolve our differences, including our territorial disputes in the coming months and coming years. This ruling itself coming out of The Hague is illegal, and China will stick firm to its principle, and China will take all the measures necessary to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity in the South China Sea.